Ready for the video?
Yes, I'm ready.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
To divorce his wife.
It's a made-up character, by the way.
The lawyer asked, why you've been okay with her, what's the problem?
Perfect. Let's do that one more time. Present practice. What's conscious? This is Vish and
Hannah,
and today we'll be responding to Sadhguru's video on
how does your intention influence your karma?
So today I'm here with Hannah. Want to introduce yourself?
Hello everyone, my name is Hannah. I am located in Austin, Texas. I am a 25-year-old entrepreneur. Great to be here.
Well, thank you for being here. And I am an aspiring yogi, and I've been meditating for over 4 years now. Super into all stuff like wisdom, meditation, yoga. Before we start, what does karma mean to you? I'm super curious.
Ooh, so I've always heard of like what goes around comes around, like your karma. But I would say karma means to me is just creating your generational legacy.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And with that,
let's get started.
Sadhguru, can you speak about, you mentioned about the fact that it's not about trying to change past karma. So therefore, can you speak about the power of intention and why intention is so important? And you gave beautiful examples in the book that illustrated you can be doing the same thing, but somebody's intent, their intention makes all the difference for, more accumulated karma or not.
Well, it happened once that Shankaran Pillai went to his lawyer and he wanted to divorce his wife.
it's a made-up character, by the way.
The lawyer asked, why you've been okay with her, what's the problem? Shankaran Pillai said, her table manners are so bad, her table etiquette is so terrible, I can't live with her anymore. But the lawyer asked, you've been married for 18 years, only now you realized her table etiquette is bad? He said, well, only yesterday afternoon, I happened to pick up a book on table etiquette. As I read it, I realized her table etiquette is terrible, so I want to divorce her. So, people are constantly changing their intentions.
Yeah.
Holding on to certain intent means holding on to a basic plan. Rest of the plan can go whichever way, whether it'll go as a straight line, as a curve or a zigzag, we don't know. There are many life situations. But the basic intent has to be held in place. Your intent cannot be held in place unless you change your identity, in the sense, if your identity is too much about your body or your intellect or your emotions, then you can only operate as an individual. So your intent is very important, but at the same time, more than the intent is a consequence of the type of identity you have taken. If you have taken an identity of being very strong person, then you will see with best intentions, still worse things could happen. I must tell you that the most horrific things on the planet have happened with best intentions. People who believed that they're doing great things, they did the most horrific things. People
Super
who
true.
even…
That was a super, I think, fire line that he mentioned. What are your thoughts on the intention versus bad results?
Ooh, my thoughts on that would be really on like where the intention is coming from. Like I feel like if it's coming from that heart space, there would not be any like necessarily bad or good results because it's coming from that heart space, your authentic heart space. So I think it's a super cool perspective. I enjoy it. I think truly when it does come with like what you're wanting as your results, looking back at your intention would be a really good place to start whenever you realize, hey, these aren't the results I'm wanting.
That is also a very beautiful way to look at this. Didn't really think of it. I think the where is also important, not just the intention.
today believe they are doing God's work, they do the most terrible things in the world right now, because intention without fixing the identity could become very powerful weapon. The most important thing is to fix the identity. How small is your identity or how large is your identity will determine even what your intent is. Your ability to develop an intent, what sort of intent you are… Please understand this. Somebody who is committing a crime, he also has a strong intent. Somebody who is doing something else, many nations, businesses, various kingdoms in the past, they all believed they had a good intent of conquering the world. And you know the consequences of those intents, all right? We have suffered imperialism, maybe not so much here, you have also suffered to some extent, but in other parts of the world, in Africa, Asia, we know the fruits of imperialism, what we have gone through because of that. But in their minds, their intent was a powerful, wonderful intent of their idea of a one world, okay? So it's very important that we first fix the identity. If you fix the identity as not a limited identity but as a cosmic identity, then intentions will naturally flow. See, whatever you identified with that you always have the best intentions. You don't have to culture those intentions. You have a little baby, now you don't have to think, I will do only good things to this child. It's rubbish, you don't even need a thought like that. Because you see it as yours, naturally, all the intention is there. You just have to see the world as yours. You have to see this universe as yours, and it is yours.
Let's talk about it, Hannah. What'd you think, just at an overall view on this?
I loved it. I love how he talked about like becoming clear with your identity and like seeing if it's something that resonates with you. And I like how he also talked on like no matter what like situation is, depending on what the identity of that person is, determines the intention. So I enjoyed that perspective overall. I'm gonna give it a thumbs up. I think it was super informative. Really enjoyed what he was saying.
That was, again, also just great insight. I appreciate you sharing that. And yeah, no, going off of that, I think it's really important to point out the significance of words. And what I've come to realize, I think words are significant, but not important. And so what I mean by that is that how we use certain words tend to really stem from, I think, the subconscious programming that happens from society. So even just our verbiage, our language is coming and is a reflection to a certain extent of society, right? How they speak and their viewpoints. And so for him to highlight and break down certain words, I completely vibe with and connect with. So with that being said, the word karma, what does that mean to you?
Ooh, I know at the beginning I put the light on generational
Okay.
generational legacy. So I would just say like what you put out, like what you're putting out into the collective, into the world, initially is what you're gonna get right back. And I know we've been like told that. I've experienced it myself. I'd love to hear if you've been able to experience it and just really like seeing like, okay, like what is everyone's version of karma? So super interested to hear more about that too.
Absolutely. So I'm just going to share what I've heard again from Sadhguru. I definitely used to think of it as really just what I think most of us think of it as, which is this negative consequence and like a punishment and like, oh, that's your karma, and like karma is a biscuit, and you get the ideas. And the point is, as he says, actually, it's actually become almost a part of our English language, and it does stem from the Eastern roots. I think Sanskrit is the language that it comes from. It literally translates to external action and memory as a result of it. So it's like a combination word, at least that's how I've interpreted it. So it's not just the action, but it's the memory that results, or the impression, basically. Not good or bad. It can be good, it can be bad. It doesn't mean that karma is good or bad. It's just action with impression. That's the definition, I think. And so, yeah, does that definition change your view on it?
It does. It does. It makes me realize not to label it as good or bad. Just allow it to be and like continue to be aware of what I'm putting out there and realizing how like the science of that works too. So I really enjoyed how you shared that, and I like that.
Exactly, and you actually nailed it right there. It really comes down to when you realize what it really means, how karma is actually your action. So literally your destiny or your future is in your hands, it's in your control. And so, yeah, just wanted to share that with you. And I love how he connected that with intention, because I think intention is a word that was used quite a bit. I used to use it all the time too, right? It's, oh yeah, no, it's all the intention that matters. Intention is the only thing that counts. And did you ever feel that way too about the word?
I'm actually going through that now. Like I'm realizing that I've been using it a lot in my vocabulary and being mindful of my own intention and what I'm doing, even if it's like something I don't want to do, like washing the dishes. Like, okay, am I going to put in like that like powerful intention to like get it done and rock it, or am I going to like, not have any sort of action behind it and like, so I think definitely moving forward, using that word, being mindful of like how I'm being intentional. So.
Well, thank you for sharing that as well. And not to point fingers here, but just to point out another word, which was mindful. What does that mean to you? I'm curious.
Mindful?
Yeah, actually, before you share, would love to hear what you all think about the word mindful. I know this isn't necessarily an English language channel, but again, just going back to what I was saying, right? I think words have significance, and so it's super important to be conscious with what you're saying. So before we continue, we'd love to hear what you think of the word karma, intention, or even just mindful down below. And now I'd love to hear your perspective on the word mindful.
My perspective on mindful is, man, I've been loving the word awareness a lot, but just like being aware what's going on in your mind, like being conscious of like what state you're in, even if it's not like a pleasant state, like being mindful of like what is going on in your headspace. I would just say like the awareness of the state of the mind you're in.
Perfect. Thanks for sharing that as well. And again, it really comes down to two things. One is the intention, I'm using the words here, is not to be like super strict about like you shouldn't say this or you shouldn't say that. It's not my intention at all. It's really just to shed light on the words that we tend to use frequently. So I'm just, openly sharing these definitions. Anyways, so mindful, from what I heard, it apparently comes from, I think, the Buddhist translation of, I'm trying to forget the exact word, but it does come from the Buddhist practice, mindful, but it actually had a different word because mindful is an English word, obviously. And apparently through translation and mistranslation, it became mindful. So obviously we know and we are aware of what it means, which is the awareness, but apparently it is a mistranslation because when you're clear, your mind isn't full, it's empty.
Oh, that makes sense. I mean, if you break it down to like mind and then break that and full, like, I mean, it would make sense. Like your mind is full.
Exactly. So the idea is that your mind isn't actually full, right? When you're clear. And so we tend to say mindful, but it's actually mind empty if you want to really translate it. But again, just not to be picky. We know what we're saying, but just again, for those of y'all watching that didn't know it, hopefully that sheds some light. But anyways, just tie this up and wrap it all. Any last thoughts or closing thoughts?
I would like to add, just got that word consciousness, just realizing like what it means if you like break it down. Like I never thought about that. So definitely excited to implement that moving forward with using words. Exactly.
Thank you so much for connecting with it. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for the kindness. Please show her some love. She makes some super cool content. Remind the viewers again where they can find you.
You can find me and connect on Instagram. My handle is sacred_woman. I love to teach people and encourage others to step into their version of health and wealth. But let's connect. Let's start collaborating. I'm here for it. Sacred_woman.
All of our stuff will be down below. And if you have any other video reaction requests, you can also comment down below. And with that, make a great day, take it joyfully, and stay conscious. Awesome job, Hannah.
Nice.
You did great.
Thank you.
Oh, man. Perfect.